What's up, chat? Another day, another grind. As Raj would say, happy Wednesday, October 27th. Man, I hope you guys are vibing, doing all right. Hopefully, you guys crushed it last night. It was kind of a interesting small 5-gamer with a couple bad beats, couple of injuries. Man, that Jokic injury late was pretty wild. Let me go 2-screen here and let's bring in our co-host today, my boy TJ. Let me go break down. Let's go 2Cam Sam. Yo, TJ. What's up, TJ? You're muted. You're on mute, TJ.
Oh, isn't that a fantastic start?
Welcome to the
How's it going?
TJ, of course, filling in. So, chat, check this out. TJ is going to rock with us for the first hour, and then maybe Chronic will jump in the second hour. But cool, man. We've got a new co-host every day so far this week. Tomorrow we should be back to Raj. We might have, like I said, Chronic in the second hour today to chop up the second half of games and also talk some late breaking news, strategy, stuff like that. We are live as always. If you guys are lurking, you're new to the channel, hit that thumbs up button. But let's talk about the co-host here, TJ. Crazy week of DFS from you, from what I'm seeing on Twitter. Not just NBA, but NFL as well. So clearly, you've got a mind for DFS and the mass field strategies that it takes to be successful. I am going to, I guess I'll pull up that link you sent me. We'll go to big screen in just a second, and we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this second place finish on, is it the NBA clutch shot, 100K to first, finished second K, missed first by 0.3, bruh. 0.3.
That was tough.
Oof. I mean, that's a 70K swing on a decimal. That's wild. Was that like your first big taste of DFS glory or what?
Not the first big taste, but it was the biggest taste. And so it was actually kind of crazy how it happened. As soon as the last game of the night started, I was with some friends. I put my phone away as soon as I knew I didn't have to late swap anymore. And I didn't actually check my phone until after the Clippers day was done. I knew going in, if Paul George had a good day, that it would probably be a solid day. And then I looked, he had 40 plus points, figured, ooh, better open up Fanduel. And yeah, bam, took down second and third in the clutch. First thought was honestly, oh my gosh, why did Eric Bledsoe have such a big day? And hope he was going to get a stat correction turnover. Didn't happen, but yeah, obviously not going to complain second and third. So
yeah, it looks like in Tyler Hero 40%. I think that was the night that Lowry was out potentially, and they I don't remember. Yeah. Really solid. I know a lot of people would have liked this Porzingis game last night that you got on
No kidding.
Saturday. But huge, yeah, 50K night there for finishing second and third. That's huge. And then was it the next day in NFL?
Yeah, the very next day in NFL, made one big lineup and then 150 max if you can go well. But my main lineup, other than Preston Williams and geez, I'm having a brain fart here. Daryl, the running back there in for LA. Other than
or Henderson.
Oh, Henderson, yeah, there we go. I kept wanting to say Daryl Williams. That's why I was struggling. Daryl Henderson and Preston Williams, those two kind of tanked it. But other than that, it was great. And then crushed another big win.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, congrats on your recent success. And it sounds like you're about to be slingshotted and perhaps become a little bit more familiar with a lot of people in the DFS community from a viewer side. So that's huge, man. I'm happy for you. Even if you're a Blue Jays fan, we can't all be perfect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me get back to the shoot around for just a second. Chat, what's up, chat? How about some thumbs up, man? You guys that are lurking, that's your penance for being a little bit tardy to class. Every time I switch from big screen to little screen on the chat, I always got to blow up the chat just a little bit more. What up, Living? What up, Damn Ron? What up, Chronic? Mia Moore, Danny, what up, Lorenza? Who is this co-host? I don't like change. You know that I'm panicking. It'll be all right. We might get.
I don't like change either, but I'll do my best.
Well, like I said, we might get Chronic back in the second half. Chronic hit me up like 5 minutes before we were going live. He's like, "Hey, you need a co-host?" I was like, "Well, I mean, I did, but I kind of filled it now. But it's cool. I've been wanting to collaborate a little bit more with some more members of the community, especially content creators or aspiring content creators. So I'm glad to link up with you. What up, Doug? What up, Dang Lazy Mofo? What up, Justin Jennings? Says Blue Jays. Oh no, don't let Rod find out. I guess we do have a pair of Blue Jays fans. This one is less annoying than the other one. Did you play some action last night, TJ? Did you?
I did. It didn't go well for me. I had high hopes because I had Nikola Jokic, and then as soon as that second half happened, so I played. Thought it was going to go okay. Didn't end up going okay.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out a little bit. I don't know if maybe your mic sense is a little too high on Discord. I don't know if it's a connection issue, but it does seem like it's the gain is waiting to click in what you're saying. What up, great filibuster? Jack Phillips, St. Case. Wait, TJ, are you Canadian or you just like the Blue Jays?
Yeah, I am Canadian. I was born and raised in Saskatchewan, Canada. My grandpa used to go down south to Blue Jays games all the time for spring training games, and so it's been in me ever since I was young.
Yeah, I can hear it now. It makes a lot more sense. Oh yeah, you mentioned Nikola Jokic last night. Jokic got hurt in the second quarter. My man was on pace to being a ridiculous play. Put up 41 fantasy points in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. That's unheard of.
26, 9, and 9 or something like that. It was nuts.
Yeah, he's an animal. Hopefully he won't miss a ton of time. We'll see. If he does in his absence, we'll be looking at MPJ, Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, guys like that to kind of pick up the pieces. But the central focus of much of the winning lineups last night got exposure to that Lakers and Spurs game. LeBron James was out. DeJounte Murray led all fantasy scores with 71 DraftKings points, 40 minutes played, 21 at 12 at 15, trip dub. AD, Russell Westbrook without LeBron combined for over 130 fantasy points. Luka got to 60, almost right where my projection put him for Fanduel. Easy over on PrizePicks. Jakob Poeltl with a big game, 50 plus. And then Rudy Gobert ended up in the top 10 there, 44.5. Tobias Harris, 48. I was really, really heavy on the Spurs game. The only problem I had was I seesawed a little bit more towards Derek White than DeJounte Murray. And then I also had a little bit of a large stake in Keldon Johnson, who ended up not closing the game. We saw a lot more Lonnie Walker, Devin Vassell. Keldon Johnson ended up with just 23 minutes. So that was a little bit unfortunate, but it was in the right spot. At the end of that Spurs game, we saw Anthony Davis go down. I thought the man's life was about to end. Like, he sold it like he got shot. I was ready to.
In my season long league, I made a trade that I just hoped I could get something out, and I immediately deleted it afterwards. But like, I was ready to hit the panic button.
Yeah, it looked bad, and then all of a sudden he was fine, and he gets back in the game. But today he's listed as questionable, and then we have another LeBron James out, so it's going to create some opportunity for us to chase Russell Westbrook again, and then if Anthony Davis is unable to go, Westbrook's usage will go through the roof. And usually not a narrative guy, but you give me Russell Westbrook back in OKC, I'm all about it. Let me get caught up on any of the other news that we have to watch today. Looks like Anthony Davis questionable, Terry Rozier doubtful, Karis LeVert questionable. That's huge. Norman Powell questionable, Al Horford probable, DeAndre Hunter probable, Josh Hart is doubtful, Danilo Gallinari questionable. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go through the slate game by game. You guys know the drill. What up, Jenna? Says, congratulations. That's awesome. I'm still learning, but seem to do well in NFL Showdown slates. I guess that's a congratulatory statement to you, TJ. What up, Sean V? What up, Pinstripe
Hey,
Pimp?
thank you.
Pinstripe says, I have no idea why I like hoops so much. Every night I see myself get off to a great start and then spend the end of the night falling, but let's get it. The late night hammer, baby. It's a process. What up, Jay? Young C says, new co-host needs to win a tournament to pay for the Wi-Fi. Uh-oh, shots. We like to have fun here.
Man, you are absolutely right. It was embarrassing. I started a podcast about a Marvel podcast actually a couple weeks ago, and I didn't know it until the end of the episode when I listened and things were cutting in and out. So big time. New Wi-Fi is number one on the agenda.
Yeah, you got no excuse now. You guys, it's gonna be it's a must. It's a must. All right, let me open up my screen.
Yeah, it's top of the priority list.
Let me get my screens open, my usage charts open, and let me get the rundfs.com screen open. And chat, you know the drill. This stream brought to you by rundfs.com. If you guys have ever been curious to see what my player pool looks like as we get closer to lock, go to rundfs.com. Get yourself signed up. Not only do you get access to my proprietary spreadsheets for NBA, for NFL, for baseball. Oh, I miss baseball already. Shout out to Charlie Morton, by the way, for pitching on a broken leg. Is that like Terrell Owens level?
That dude broke his leg. That's Greg Jennings level.
Yeah, nuts. Nuts. And then he got some strikeouts with a broken freaking leg, Kurt Angle on him. Yeah, I miss baseball. Anyway, if you guys want access to all my spreadsheets, and then also, more importantly, access to the rundfs.com VIP Discord, go to rundfs.com, get yourself signed up, check out the VIP memberships tab, see what's right for you. A couple of interesting collabs coming really, really soon. I'll let you guys know more about that once it's live and ready to go. But I'm excited for that, and hopefully you guys will find a little bit more utility in your subscription as well. Every day before lock and a lot of times after lock, I'm in the VIP voice chat on the NBA level. So we've been having a lot of fun sweating games, discussing late swaps, and then of course sweating props via our partners at PrizePicks. So come be part of that. If it ain't my community, TJ, I think you can attest to it. I think a really, really important part of playing DFS successfully is being part of a community, right? Just having a team of sharp players, iron sharpens iron, keeping you guys up to date on news, right? We can't always have our phone open, seeing who's in or out. It's very convenient to have that everyone tag. So get part of a community. It doesn't have to be mine. There's a lot of really, really good ones out there. But let's jump into it. Shout out to Randy. Shout out to Zach. Is that a Whataburger coffee cup? That is exactly what it is. A couple years ago, one of the subscribers got me this for Christmas. It is a Yeti coffee cup painted with Whataburger branding. TJ, I don't think you guys have Whataburger in Canada, eh? But it's our I don't know.
Oh, no, we don't.
It's like our McDonald's. It's really good. Made to order stuff. It's really, really good. My boy Chronic recently moved to
Okay.
Texas. He can attest. What up, Taylor? What up, Crispy? What up, Obi-Wan? Man, chat is pumping today. They heard we got a new Canadian on the stream. And they're
Good
excited.
to hear it. Get my I can't I exited out of the YouTube so that it would help my Wi-Fi a bit better, so I can't see it. But if anybody makes any comments, you let me know.
Yeah, I got you for sure. All right, let's jump into tonight's slate. Several games on the docket. We've already discussed some of the pertinent news and notes to keep an eye on, and we'll go game by game here and kind of discuss pricing, guys that stick out to you, guys that you think you're going to be a little bit heavier on. TJ, are you more of a Fanduel player than DraftKings player, or you just happen to have more success lately?
I am more of a FanDuel player, not out of because I like it better. I play Yahoo, I play DraftKings, I play FanDuel, but I go most heavily on FanDuel just because that's where I've had the most success.
Gotcha. Yeah, historically, that's been where I've had my most NBA success. So let me ask you your thoughts on the multi-position eligibility. I guess not fair because you've had a lot of success with it through the first week, but are you fundamentally for it?
Originally, I wasn't. I feel like obviously I'm a bit biased to it now, but my favorite part about FanDuel was just like the being able to hand build, sit down, and look at it like a puzzle, and it just being difficult. You can't just play all of the best plays. And so if, like you said earlier, if you're part of a community and you have a good projection system, I do think this makes it a lot easier to do the whole MME type thing. But I don't love it for a hand building one lineup type of situation.
Yeah, somebody in my Discord yesterday shot me their lineup and they were like, "Gun, what do you think of this?" And I was like, "Well, what if you move Russell Westbrook to shooting guard and Anthony Davis to center?" And I was just like, "Wait, you can move Russell Westbrook to shooting guard?" It's just like some of
the
their
old 2v2 thing isn't.
Yeah,
2v2 thing isn't the same anymore.
You're not used to that. And then like some of the positions guys are eligible for just kind of don't make sense. Like Tyus Jones was a power forward. It's like point guard power forward. It's weird. Anyway, let's jump into the slate. What up, Fish? What up, Jared Bell? What up, Aunt Marie? Shout out to you guys. If you're lurking, hit that subscribe button. Be part of the chat. Hit that thumbs up. Let's try to get to 70 thumbs up today. That's the goal. First game on the docket, Charlotte Hornets at the Orlando Magic. Project starting 5 for the Hornets. LaMelo Ball, Kelly Oubre Jr., Gordon Hayward, Miles Bridges, and Mason Plumlee taking on Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., and Mo Bamba. He's got hose calling. 220 is our total. 5.5 point spread in favor of the visiting Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball sticks out as close to AK on both sides. That in the probable absence of Terry Rozier, I'm still going to be interested in him slate to slate no matter what. I do wish the minutes were a little bit higher. I think the last game we can point to foul trouble. In the game before, it looked like they were leaning a little bit more towards Ish Smith. But in a competitive game where he's playing solid basketball, LaMelo Ball is a triple-double threat. So I do think at 8K-ish on both sides, I will have early interest to getting access to him. Miles Bridges feels like a rough 7K play, but he's been out here averaging well over 20 points per game. I think around 25 points per game so far. So this might be our real life now. Gordon Hayward under 7K on both sides. Feels like a guy that eventually will spring forward with a big game. We know last year without Devontae Graham, without Terry Rozier, he did he was one of the higher teams in usage rates, or higher players on the team in usage rates. So somebody that I'm curious with. The total a little bit higher for a Magic game than I'm used to, but it looks like the Magic between Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs are offering a little bit of scoring potential. We've seen a really big game out of Cole Anthony over the weekend. I don't know if you caught that one, but Cole Anthony had over 60 fantasy points. Was it? I think that was the NFL Sunday. I didn't really play that slate. But yeah, he dropped a smooth 60 bomb. So at this price point, I think on both sides, I really just need to get above 30 to feel like I'm getting a decent deal. So if I had to make a short list of players, I think for me it's kind of like LaMelo, Bridges, maybe some Oubre versus Cole Anthony. And I think we could start discussing guys like Mason Plumlee, who was just going bananas in the first half of that last slate. Kind of fizzled off a little bit, but I do think this price is still leaving me a little bit of upside. We saw with the Pistons when he was able to go out there and play a high allotment of minutes, he is a point per minute guy, and he might be a little bit underpriced for what his true potential is. I do think this Magic team plays really, really big in their front court, so it's not necessarily a gimme, but my projection did kind of like him on FanDuel. 5,900 versus a 40 fantasy point projection for me. That's just like incredible projection for the price point. Do you have any leans on this one? I'm a little bit more privy to the Hornets here. Cole Anthony is fine, but do you have any type of confidence in anyone else on the Magic?
On the Magic side, like getting some exposure to them. Full disclosure, I'm only playing one lineup tonight, but if I was playing more, I would want to get some exposure to them, but not some. Really, like I wouldn't want to be playing Cole Anthony, Jugs, Franz Wagner all together, but I do like all of them individually a little bit. If I was going to pick one, I think I'd probably go with Suggs just based on full price tag of 5K on FanDuel, and he could have some big upside. But I like having some exposure to the Magic today, but definitely nobody I'm going to be going crazy on.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I feel like the more I get to, in my mass entry builds, I'd be dabbling with the Cole Anthony Suggs. I know Terrence Ross had a massive fourth quarter the other day. Like, it just feels like on a slate this big, the ranges of outcomes are a little bit too thin for me to feel super confident, but Cole Anthony's probably at the top here. If we look at just this season so far in terms of usage rates, Jalen Suggs has led the team emphatically with a 27% usage rate, but that has only accounted for a 0.8 DKP per minute, 0.7 FanDuel point per minute. If he hits more shots, obviously that goes up. The guys that are averaging over a fantasy point per minute are Cole Anthony and Mo Bamba. So I still feel like Cole Anthony's the guy that I'm leaning on the most, but I definitely wouldn't talk anyone off the ledge here if they had a little bit more conviction in getting to some of these players. I forgot that my screen only shares a certain quarter of it, so that's a little bit better, chat. My bad. Let's get caught up on chat here, see what you guys are thinking on this one. Aunt Marie says Bomba's a great play. I might try Suggs again. I'm with that. G Yali says Bomba or Carter. I definitely I don't think that those guys are bad plays in terms of what the projection is spitting out. I got 6K ish on Mo Bamba, 37 FanDuel points, 35 DraftKings points is my soft projection at the moment, and Wendell Carter over 30 fantasy points. I do think this Charlotte Hornets front court can bleed rebounds to some of these elite peripheral getters like Bamba and Carter, and there is some block potential to be had, and maybe for FanDuel scoring, that's a little bit more lucrative, over 1.5 block per game for both these guys in the front court. So I wouldn't hate having access to them. I wouldn't prioritize them just yet, but they would probably start off as a tier 3 for me. And yeah, AD says, "Gun, I'm door dashing to make Adine in the chat." Yo, Adine, I haven't seen you ever. Like, where you been? Can Ball keep it up? Seems like it would be a blowout. Not sure I'm going to get there. I mean, it's hard for me to project the Hornets to blow anyone out. If that's the side that you're leaning, I think LaMelo Ball has been fine. His biggest enemy has been himself. Against Boston, he fouled out in 30. You good?
Oh, yeah, we're good.
All right. That happened yesterday, too. I thought my co-host got shot. LaMelo Ball fouled out in 33.
No, just life of having a cat.
Oh, yeah, I can relate. 6 fouls in 33 minutes against Boston. And then against Brooklyn, yeah, they just kind of benched him and let Ish Smith kind of run things. So I think his biggest enemy has been himself. But I don't feel like I'm projecting a lopsided game here. I wouldn't really project a blowout. How do you feel about Oubre tonight? So I was gonna say I would focus on Oubre a little bit because he has been thriving in this role without Terry Rozier. At 5.7K, I would really like the north side of 30 fantasy points. He's offered that in 2 of his last 3 games against Boston. Maybe the minutes, obviously, with how much they played that game, are a little bit of an outlier. I would start him off as a tier 3 and see if we could move on from that, but I don't really think that's going to happen. Let's move on to the next game here. Washington Wizards at the Boston Celtics. Project starting 5 for the Wizards: Spencer Dinwiddie, Bradley Beal, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, Kyle Kuzma, Daniel Gafford, taking on Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford. And the Time Lord, Robert Williams. 224 is our total 4-point spread in favor of the home team, Boston Celtics. On the Celtics side, TJ, one thing about me, man, is I have committed to not playing Celtics for the rest of my life if they're fully healthy. Sometimes
tough start to the year.
Yes, very tough start, especially when Jaylen Brown comes out on a minutes limit and he plays 40 minutes. Gosh dang it. But I was able to survive that. There was ways to zig when others were zagging there. But I want to say once again, I'll probably be light on the Celtics, but I definitely wouldn't fault anyone for landing here. I do think high minutes, or a high predictive value and minutes projected on Brown and Tatum exists. Sub 8K Brown on DraftKings is tempting. I'm looking for 40 plus at that price point. And then Jason Tatum's priced a little bit more to where I would want 50 plus. Do you have leans on this one? I think the Wizards as a whole, like 7K Dinwiddie doesn't really rub me the right way. I guess we're gonna have a big Bradley Beal game sooner or later, but he's gonna need 40 plus real points. We've seen some guards have some success here against the Celtics scoring wise. But do you have any leans on this game? Normally, I step away from Boston, but I don't think that's a fair analysis. Are you a little bit higher on this game?
I'm decently high on this game, and the scary part is the ownership with these Boston guys, with how they've been playing lately, is the fades didn't hurt you that much in the past because these guys were 4 or 5% owned for some of these games. But Tatum on Fanduel is up over 20%. Both of them on DraftKings look as though they could be over 20%. I like Tatum on Fanduel a lot more than Brown. Just based on the prices are really close together, and Tatum, I think, has a bit higher of a ceiling. But at the same time, with what we've seen from Brown so far at lower ownership, he might be the play in the tournament. On the Washington side, I really, really like Bradley Beal on FanDuel. Mm-hmm. He's only 8,700 over there. I'm only playing one lineup, and I'm not positive about it yet, but there's a good chance he could be in it today if I think I'm going to be running it back with somebody on the Boston side. I don't think I'll be playing anyone else from Washington in that lineup today, but if I was MMEing, I'd sprinkle in Spencer Dinwiddie just in case he gets hot, and then I'd have probably a pretty good portion of Kuzma, Gafford, as well as Harrell, especially Harrell. Yeah, for the Celtics is definitely somebody I'm going to be going for as well.
All right, you cut out a little bit there at the end. Dennis Schroeder, somebody asked about Schroeder in chat. Schroeder was one of the guys that you wanted in that last Celtic explosion. He's definitely a guy we know can be a great fantasy player. He's averaging almost a fantasy point per minute so far this season on DK. Again, I'm the low guy on the Celtics from fantasy just because I feel like they're so hard to predict and get right. And now maybe there's an overcorrection on their prices. You know, a couple of overtime games to start this season definitely has impacted their far right column. So I'm down on them all just because I'd rather go elsewhere, but that's just me. Somebody asked about Horford. Do you like Robert if Horford is out somehow? So I think Horford was actually listed as probable, so I probably wouldn't entertain that too much. But as far as liking,
he rested last game, so I think he'll be back.
Yeah, Horford sneaky with the blocks, maybe under 6K on DK. He surprises you with some peripherals. Looks like an undersized Wizards team that he could probably get some blocks off on, but it's not going to be a priority for me. Living with Dan Raw, I'll never play an F Jackson again. Frank Jackson. People played Frank Jackson when Josh Jackson was the starter. Come on, man. Hawks at the Pelicans next game on the docket. Project starting 5-4. The Hawks, Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Clint Capella taking on Devontae Graham. Friend of the channel, Nickel Alexander Walker, Josh Hart, who I think is doubtful, Brandon Ingram, and Jonas Valanciunas. If Josh Hart didn't play, we have seen them throw Herb Jones into the mix, so maybe look out for that. Not something that I would react to. I think Brandon Ingram, Jonas Valanciunas are the first two guys I target from this Pelicans team. Tougher matchup, I would guess, in that front court against a guy like Capella, but J-Val is very, very good. I think the prices are starting to react to his new role, part of this Pelicans team. 7,500 on FanDuel, a much more appropriate price point than that low 6K range that we had experienced this last couple games. And the Devontae Graham, maybe a little bit of room for upside. He got to 30-ish fantasy points in that last game. I saw him in the winning lineup for the 100K, play 39 minutes. I think 30 is probably the higher end of the median expectation, so it wouldn't be a priority, but in Mass Century, probably put him down there as a tier 3 for me. On the Hawks side, I've not really seen Trae Young thrive in a fully healthy Hawks team with the new foul rules, so at 9K, I'm probably going to be down on that. And just to put that 9K in context, TJ, you got to assume Russell Westbrook's going to be the most sought after 9K player on the slate. 9,300 on DraftKings with no LeBron, back at the house with no AD. Just seems hard to justify Trae Young over Westbrook in short entry. Maybe as you get deeper into mass entry, it's a little bit easier to click, but I do think this Hawks team comes out pretty healthy. I think there is some upside on the 6,300 DraftKings price point and 6,400 FanDuel price point on John Collins, and then maybe Clint Capella to an extent. Looks like they had been babysitting Capella's minutes, but I think Collins has a little bit of room for upside against the Pelicans front court that I definitely don't mind a peripheral grabbing guy. If not both of them, definitely one of them. Cam Reddish Jr. had a huge game in the absence of DeAndre Hunter. We saw, I think, Kevin Huerter slotted into that starting lineup, so Reddish was able to pick up a lot of primary ball handling duties off the bench. So maybe he's somebody you keep in your back pocket. Watch for the status of Gallinari, questionable, still waiting for his first game. But I guess, TJ, if I had to pull away maybe 4 names from this game to pencil down, it's going to be Ingram, Valanciunas, John Collins, and maybe an asterisk next to Cam Reddish. Do you have any other plays that would intrigue you in short entry?
Side of that, no. I'm going to keep smashing Valanciunas on FanDuel until he hits over 8K. But other than that, there's nobody in particular. It's like you said with Trae. It's going to be too tough to get to him for me when Russell Westbrook is so darn cheap, especially on FanDuel tonight. So this game isn't going to be one I'm going to be too heavy on. If I was MMEing, I would take some shots on the same guys you said. Cam Reddish from Atlanta, Trae Young, I would take shots on. Capella and Collins, I'd throw in 1 or 2. But single entry tonight for small things, I think JV is going to be where I'm keeping things.
Yeah, Jonas Valanciunas, I guess. How expensive is too expensive? I still think he's got meat on the bone at this price point. But I wonder what his ceiling becomes in terms of price point going forward. He's long been a guy, even with the Raptors, where you give him minutes, he can absolutely produce from a fantasy perspective, but he hasn't really had an opportunity to get minutes. It feels like now he's got that opportunity. They give him that extension. So if J-Val is going to consistently be a 30-plus minute player, yeah, he might be a problem for fantasy going forward. So I do like that. And then Josh Hart, sneaky rebound getter. So Hart's absence only creates a little bit more opportunity for some hustle stats for guys like J-Val that can rack up the rebounds. Let me get caught up on chat here. What up, Dave Jones? Shout out to Dave Jones, channel member. Zach says Young and Capella stack in large field tournaments. I like the Capella side a little bit more. If you could convince me that there's not going to be a minutes concern. Before the last game, they said that they would be monitoring his minutes, and so far this season, 27's been his cap. So on a bigger slate, I don't want to give myself a glass ceiling for guys that might be on a shorter leash than I would like. And then, like you said, Trae Young, I just haven't felt like Trae Young is going to be something I need when they're fully healthy, when they have other ball handlers like Cam Reddish, guys like Kevin Huerter, Bogdanovich. 52 out of them against that Detroit team. I guess, yeah, that's huge, but he needed 30 plus real points. So not a high level of confidence there. And the free throws have been a little bit down as well, but I guess I wouldn't push back on. I'm a little less on the Capella side than the Trae Young side. But like we said, 1v1 Trae Young at that price point versus the potential for what Russell Westbrook without LeBron James is kind of hard to go the Young way. But I definitely don't think that's I don't think it's crazy. Capella, I'm a little less on. John Collins, though, I do think deserves a little bit more attention just because I do think he is somebody I wouldn't hate getting to him at like 7K today. Point per minute is kind of the standard here, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, if he gets into foul trouble, you're gonna have a problem. But man, 38 and 40 in 2 of his 3 games so far, and that 38 came in just 24 minutes. A little bit of foul problems. If he can stay out of foul trouble here, he has a real shot at a 40 fantasy point game. And we've seen bigs thrive just fine against the Pelicans. I think Cat just had that 70-point game. Not quite Cat is Collins, but he's still above what I think the field thinks of him. What's up, Julian? What up, Earth to Air? Shout out to everyone in chat. Hit that thumbs up. Miami Heat at the Brooklyn Nets. Next game on the docket. Project starting 5 for the Heat. Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy G. Buckets, PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo, taking on James Harden, Joe Harris, Bruce Brown. Maybe they threw him in that starting lineup last game. Kevin Durant and Blake Griffin. 217.5 is our total. 3.5 point spread in favor of the Brooklyn Nets. On the Heat side, if Lowry's in, it does feel like everyone's price points are a little bit hard to love individually. For upside, maybe Lowry's price is a little soft on Fanduel at 6,500. You can see 30 plus fantasy points there, but on a slate this big, I want a little bit more of a ceiling, even if it's the higher end of the median range of outcomes. So I don't necessarily find myself gravitating towards any one price point wise on the Heat. Historically, I don't mind centers against the Nets. So if Adebayo got there with a low end double and a couple peripherals, maybe he hits the back end of my player pool. On the net side, we've run this over and over since the beginning of last year with Harden and KD on the court and and Kyrie off the court. Durant's been closer to over 1.4 fantasy points per minute, while Harden's been closer to 1. You add in Harden struggles this year, the lack of free throws. It's easily the KD side of the coin for me here today, but KD is 11K on FanDuel and 10.5K on DraftKings, and in context to some of what's available elsewhere on the slate, you wonder how much KD has to score to feel like you need him to be live at the end of the night. TJ, as a FanDuel player, 11K Kevin Durant, what does he got to put up to feel like you shouldn't have faded him? Is it 60?
At least at minimum 60. Like at 11K, that's so much. Unless we get a bunch of screaming value, cheap value that opens up later, I can't see myself getting there. I like a lot of the value today, but so much of it is in the 5-6K range. So I can't see myself getting there today.
Cat alert. Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We're cat people.
Doesn't follow any rules. I've shut the door like 4
they hate
times,
that.
and he
it's even worse. Alex says Collins perfect pivot over Scotty Barnes on DraftKings. Sean Collins, I like that call. Quinn says Bam had some big games against Brooklyn last year. Yeah, centers against Brooklyn last year were definitely a honeypot. I don't mind going back to that process this year. Zach says, I think Brown's the only person to get here. Bruce Brown, man, I tell you what, man, I'm just not a Bruce Brown guy, so I won't co-sign that with you, but I would say if you're on Brown now, make sure he is in that starting lineup later. Steve Nash has shown a propensity to kind of experiment a little bit We've seen KD play the 3, Blake play the 4, and then like a Claxton start at the 5. So he's not a guaranteed starter, but I guess if he did start, you could feel a little bit better about putting maybe 20, 25 minutes on him and seeing what happens. But TJ, any heat here for you or nah?
I don't mind sprinkling in some Jimmy Butler and sprinkling in some Bam. Bam, exactly like you said, centers against the Nets always has been a thing. And then Jimmy gets up for these types of games. Obviously, you don't want to dive too deep into narratives because you can't exactly quantify it. But Jimmy Butler, we've seen him get up for these big games against other stars. So 8,900 on Fanduel, 8,800 on DraftKings. Making one or two lineups, probably not going to hit it for me. But if I'm making quite a few, I'd want some exposure to both of those guys.
Let's move on to the next game. Indiana Pacers at the Toronto Raptors for X25 for the Pacers. Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Duarte, maybe Karis LeVert, maybe he starts, maybe he's off the bench. We'll see. Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner, the bane of my existence, up against Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, and Precious Achiuwa. 215 is our total. 1 point spread in favor of the visiting Indiana Pacers. Let me see if I can get the scoop, the skinny, the 411 on the status of Karis LeVert, because I was kind of surprised to see him upgraded to questionable yesterday. Maybe there's a little bit of purgatory between questionable and probable going forward, but LeVert would be a massive addition to this Pacers team that I low-key kind of like. He's been dealing with a stress fracture in his back. He was recently cleared to be a full participant in practice, and it appears that his return to game action isn't too far off, even if he is cleared to play Wednesday night. Those who have LeVert, blah, blah, blah. I guess if he does play, we probably don't expect him to play super big minutes. However, if he did get to 15, 20 minutes sooner than later, it would be a little bit of a usage pull down from everyone else. So you kind of scratch your head and wonder what to do. With this Pacers team, the three guys I've been dabbling with thus far into the young season is Brogdon, Chris Duarte, and Domantas Sabonis. And Duarte's made me sweat a few times right until the very end, and a couple times been bailed out by overtime. That probably would be what I stick with here. Maybe Miles Turner stays out of foul trouble and he can benefit from a couple extra rebounds against a Raptors team that so far hasn't been super efficient with their rebounding. But man, I again, kind of like we talked about KD, man, Sabonis is 9,600 on FanDuel, 9,900 on DraftKings, a guy I'm going to need that 50 plus from. I do think it's possible. Like, I don't think he would get impacted too much from the presence of LeVert, so I would have Sabonis in the mix for me. On the Raptor side, Precious Achiuwa and Scotty Barnes have been kind of cute value plays. Price is starting to rise on both of them with Achiuwa in tournaments at that price point. I would love high 20s into the 30s. And Scotty Barnes, yeah, I'm going to need 30 plus out of him. And then Fred VanVleet, buddy Emac calls him Fred Van Elite. He's sub AK on both sides, going to get deep minutes. And despite a sour a start in his first two games, he bounced back huge in his last game with a ridiculous 17 assists for 50 fantasy points at 7,800. I need the north side of 40. Yeah, it's possible. How confident are we in him achieving that? Well, my soft projections did put him at 46 on FanDuel, 44 on DraftKings. So, yeah, the projections kind of like him. The Pacers have not been locking teams up, and the Pacers have been part of games that you've been wanting to attack for fantasy. So, I probably would sell myself on some VanVleet. And then Anunoby, I didn't give him any shine here, but he's had some strong games. He's often been a peripheral first guy, maybe some stocks with blocks and steals, but in the absence of Pascal Siakam for the foreseeable future, he has been adding on real points, right? 15 plus shot attempts in every game thus far, 20 plus real points in back-to-back games, and the stocks are still there. 2 steals in 3 of his 4 games so far, and a couple blocks to boot. So a guy that can stuff the stat sheet with double-digit shot attempts. I'm interested. I'm a little bit more interested in Anunoby, I think, points per dollar than a couple of these other guys from a DraftKings standpoint. But what's your leans on this one, TJ, with or without LeVert? I think we'll prepare for LeVert to not be in. But anyone from this game that you're feeling for your one lineup?
For if Levert is in, I think I'm going to be avoiding Indy. If he's out, I don't mind. I'm entertaining putting one of them in the lineup because I love Toronto tonight. I'm a bit softer on them on DK just because the prices are a bit higher, but on FanDuel, Scotty Barnes still 5,300. Chiwa's still below 5K. Van Vliet below 8K. So I'm a big fan of the Raptors tonight. Whole starting lineup basically. And so if I am maybe them in my layer in there, if Levert's in, I'm going to avoid the guards and maybe make that something like Miles Turner. But I really like the Raptors tonight.
Yeah, let me get caught up on chat. G Yali says, so one center, Capella, Ayton, or Val in tournaments. Not I don't know which site you're speaking of, but I think my short answer would be Jonas Valanciunas without knowing for sure what site you're talking about. I'm a little bit worried about Capella's minutes, and J Val is just a monster. I haven't really processed what we're dealing with for Ayton just yet. Jack says Gary Trent on FanDuel is a great value at 4,600. I think he will most likely get 30 in value. I think that's possible. Miles Turner smash tonight. We got some Miles Turner apologists in the chat. Somebody asked what's the deal with Miles Turner last game. Well, he did not play in the fourth quarter, was in foul trouble early, and I guess they just decided to run Sabonis over anyone else. They closed with Duarte, Brogdon, Sabonis, Justin Holiday, and Goga Bitadze as the extra big there. So a little bit of foul trouble, but also looks like a little bit of coach's decision. So maybe Goga was just a little bit more efficient there. Is it safe to get back on Miles Turner again? I don't think it's ever going to be #safe, but I do think he can pay off this price point a decent clip, especially against a team that maybe will offer some higher rebound rates. He's also a block guy, so if he gets you a couple blocks, maybe 8 rebounds or so, and can get you 10-15 real points, yeah, he'll be an okay play. But I do think he's way more volatile versus what his ownership has been slate to slate. Yeah, he popped off huge for that, I think near 60 bomb, but I do think his ownership versus volatility is probably a little bit imbalanced for what I want. Let's ask Raj about OG. Okay, buddy. With LeBron out again, will it make Toronto less chalky today? Seemed like beginning of the day it was chalk of the century. So with LeBron out, I think and AD questionable. And if you watched last night, it seemed like AD could be closer to out than in. I mean, I think the only guy that really picks up massive ownership for the most part, maybe Westbrook and maybe Malik Monk. I don't know how confident people are in Melo after last night, so we'll see. I don't know that there's going to be aggressive chalk on a slate this big outside of Russell Westbrook, but I haven't really put my ear to the ground just yet. If you were worried about the Raptors being less chalky, I still think points per dollar, you can make strong cases for just about everyone. So I think as long as projection systems put fine numbers on them, and even my projection system loves top to bottom. Achua is coming in at over 30 fantasy points, and my algorithm under 5K. That's just incredible return. Scotty Barnes, if you can have a goldfish memory on him, 30 plus fantasy points. Pacers have just been a matchup so far that has bled successful fantasy production from both sides, and yeah, I expected the Raptors to do just fine, but it is a low total, so maybe pace yourself, maybe set a rule to not have more than 2 Raptors in a lineup or something like that. Is how I would try and balance it. Timberwolves at the Milwaukee Bucks, project starting 5 for the T-Wolves: D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Josh Okogie, and Karl Anthony Towns, the big cat. Ernie Ladd taking on George Hill, Grayson Allen, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Thanasis Antetokounmpo, potentially by Portis. I think he might finally be ready to go. Let me double check on that. Yeah, he's listed as probable. So we'll see if they decide to start Portis or they keep Portis off the bench. A couple things that Budenholzer could do. We got a pretty big total here, 230, 6.5 point spread in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 11.2K on FanDuel, 10.8K on DraftKings. Would likely be the guy that is after me, after my own heart. I just got a DM that I can't answer live on the air. Hopefully they understand me. Giannis right now is leading my uh raw point projections for fantasy. He's even a little bit above Russell Westbrook. So I definitely would have no pushback on playing Giannis. If Giannis can be in a competitive game, you can get deep minutes out of him. He's absolutely one of my favorite guys for 60 plus fantasy points at 11.2K TJ with KD at 11K. Like, no one's gonna play KD, right? Just $200 will get you Giannis and a higher total, not Bam Adebayo and Butler defense. Oof. Snap call there. What are you feeling on this one, TJ?
If the matchup wasn't Miami, I'd love a low ownership Durant pivot, but Miami just plays so slow and tough. Giannis and Rick are my favorite pay options on the slate. He's my favorite. He's my most highest projected player as well. If we get some news that Bobby Portis is going to be getting over 20 minutes, I'm going to like him a lot as well. The Minnesota guys look a lot better on DK than they do on Fanduel. I'm finding them kind of tough to get to on Fanduel, but I will be getting quite a bit of Milwaukee tonight, and Giannis is my favorite pay up, right up there with Russ.
Yeah, I'm with you there. What about Cat? Karl-Anthony Towns here, 10.1K, coming off a massive performance in his last outing. I do worry about the volatility, or have been worried about the volatility between having usage monsters like D-Russ, Edwards, and Cat on the same team. But so far, Edwards and Cat have been the leans for me. When Cat's not fouling out of games, we've seen a great per minute production, and we've definitely seen a great ceiling. And he's one of those centers that matches up okay in this spot. I'm curious to see how he's done historically against the Bucks. Sorry, I'm filling DMs from our buddies at Awesome. DKP by game log versus Bucks. Let's go last 10 games. 55 in his last performance against the Bucks. 36 minutes there. 26, 8, and 11. So almost triple doubled. I don't know how. I don't think it would be possible to get to like a Giannis run back Cat lineup and still have Russell Westbrook. I don't think that's possible. I haven't tried it. Like, it might be possible if you're playing some weirdos. At a $300 price difference, is there any way you're getting to Cat over Giannis here on FanDuel?
Not over Giannis. On DK, I do like trying to get to some Cats, but it would probably be over Westbrook if I was going to do it, so I could have Giannis in the same lineup, just because if Cat goes off, that probably means Giannis minutes as well. DK price on FanDuel, where there's a lot of better value at center that's not as expensive, I'm not going to be getting to him. But on DK, I like Towns. FanDuel, not so much.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat there. Let's talk about Anthony Edwards, 7,700 on DK, 8K on FanDuel. Sweating Anthony Edwards that last game on abysmal first half, and then he said, you know what, you got me in DFS, I got you in real life, and went off in the second half. Ended up with 46 fantasy points, 23 shot attempts, has taken 20 plus shot attempts in every game thus far, a couple peripherals to boot. How excited are you at this price point? I do think the volatility is a little bit higher than the median results so far, so maybe that starts to regress. But at 8K, do you get to much, if any? I feel like that's 8K range tonight so far feels a little bit, I don't want to say no man's land completely, but I feel like it's very barren if we're gonna be focused on some of these Westbrook Giannis lines.
Yeah, and I think I'd rather, in that's like a similar range, I think I'd rather get to a guy like Van Vliet tonight. Mm-hmm. But Edwards is going to be one of those guys for me all year that when I'm playing a few lineups, if he's high owned, I'm going to try and go underweight on. If he's low owned, I'm going to try and go overweight on, because he has such a massive ceiling, but he's also got a really low floor as well, like you said, with that volatility. So tonight, I don't think it's going to be an Edwards night for me, but long term, when he's low owned, I do like that play.
Yeah, That's a great approach for it. And then we'll call this your last game, TJ. Then we'll get you out of here. Lakers at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Project starting five for the Lakers: Russell Westbrook, Malik Monk, Kent Bazemore, Anthony Davis, and DeAndre Jordan. Taking on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort, the Torture Chamber, Josh Giddey, Darius Baisley, and Derek Favors. Favors was out last night. Mike Muscala out tonight. I guess they staggered rest. Thunder, they hung in there 12 rounds with the Golden State Warriors, but at the end there, they just didn't have enough to close it. The Lakers, extra innings against the Spurs last night without LeBron James, but we saw Russell Westbrook step in and kind of take over that team. Him and Anthony Davis were the guys that you wanted, guys that you needed. And then Malik Monk had, I don't know if you saw this, he was a plus minus of plus 31 in a game that went to overtime. That was insane.
Did you see his three that sent it into overtime?
Yeah, he's a bad dude. That's why Michael Jordan smacked him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Anthony Davis was listed as questionable here. So we know LeBron's out. If AD isn't able to play, and if you watched the end of yesterday's game, there was a time where you thought his season was over. So maybe they give him the next day off. I don't know. But if AD wasn't able to play, I don't know what happens with this Lakers team. What I do know is they're probably not that good. And maybe there's some value in the Thunder catching the Lakers with travel being down a man. So what you might expect to see is a guy like Carmelo Anthony being called up on a little bit more. And then what we saw yesterday, according to Frank Vogel, and then we saw it play out, was when Westbrook wasn't on the court, Rajon Rondo would run point. I see a Rondo jersey in your background there, TJ. How excited would you be for some value Rondo, who only got to 20 minutes yesterday with an extra quarter of work? Would he be a crazy 100K to first value play? That's what I thought he could have been yesterday.
If I'm 150 maxing, I'm definitely sprinkling them in. Playing one lineup, I'm going to have Westbrook, so there's no way I don't think I'm going to have Rondo in it. Especially if he's out to really play ancillary guy, the Lakers, I'll be all over Carmelo Monk. If he's out, I'll maybe have a bit of Bazemore, but I doubt it. Playing more lineups, yes, I still would have him. But if AD plays, I'm not sure exactly what I want to do yet, just because this feels absolutely like the type of game that the second it gets remotely out of hand, he'd be sitting anyways. Mm-hmm. So it's tough because he obviously has a major ceiling, but if he plays, I think I'm going to be sticking in the Westbrook Monk range. But if he doesn't, I think I'm probably going to be trying to get three of these guys in my lineup.
So you said you're only playing one lineup tonight. I probably will fire 50 on Fanduel. Russell Westbrook is 8.4K. No LeBron James.
If I was
like,
if AD's out, I would be. If I'm playing 150, 50, anything, I'd be locked.
That's what I'm thinking, man. He's out.
AD. I'm still gonna try and do what I can to get. Yeah, if he's in, I'm going to still try and get over the field. But if I think he's going to be out, I might be lock buttoning.
I think I will. 8,400, just such a soft landing spot. But yeah, I'm running that.
How did his price go down?
I don't know if they were prepared for LeBron being out again. But yeah, you give me the narrative. I'm not a narrative guy most of the time, but I like this one. Back in OKC, the usage is going to be there. The minutes are absolutely going to be there. 8,400, just it feels can't miss. So yeah, I'll be wrestling with locking him in 50, and even more so this year than last year. Like, he was point guard, shooting guard eligible, so the ways to access him become even easier. The run back here, SGA 7.1K on both sides. Probably going to lead this team in real scoring. One of the guys that floated to the top of my lineups yesterday was Josh Giddey. Is he somebody on your radar if you're trying to run back a couple of guys in a game stack? Yesterday, just 3 for 10. But what we've seen him do is fill up the stat sheet: 8, 9 rebounds his last 2 games, couple assists, and some stocks to boot. Sub 5K on Giddy on DraftKings. I'm fine with that. And then on Fanduel, he's 5,700. A little harder to love. But what's your interest level here?
Yeah, on DraftKings, I like him quite a bit tonight. I do like Shy as well tonight. I'm probably not going to get anywhere outside of those two, just because Dort has let me down just a few too many times this year. Same with Baisley, sorry. And so Giddy on DK, I like quite a bit, and then Shy on OKC as a run back if I'm playing 3 LA guys.
Yeah. All right. So it sounds like we're pretty much in agreement here. All right, TJ. I'm not gonna hold you any longer, man. I appreciate your time today. Hopefully we do it again. We'll get some better Wi-Fi going. And good luck.
Absolutely, yeah, man. I apologize on the Wi-Fi. I thought I had this stuff figured out already before that, so my bad. But thanks so much for having me on. This was a blast.
Yeah, chat. Go follow him on Twitter, which is.
At TJ_Zwarich5 on Twitter. I basically exclusively tweet about fantasy sports and Marvel, DC, Star Wars content. So if you're a comic book head, you like that stuff, and you like fantasy sports, give me a follow.
All right, buddy. I'll catch you in a little bit. Good luck on your interview.
You have a good one.
All right. Chat. Hopefully in a couple minutes here, we'll get Chronic on, man. I appreciate you guys vibing out on this Wednesday afternoon. I guess we got a little bit of time to field a few questions here, but chat, I wanted your thoughts on that Russell Westbrook FanDuel thought at 8,400. Sometimes you got to think about all in or nothing, and I feel like his ownership's going to rise to an egregious number. Yesterday, I got him at only 30%, which I thought was kind of low in a 5-game slate, but you got to feel like today it wouldn't be as low with the field being able to prepare for this a little bit more. And 84 is just such a low spot. So I'm thinking about hitting that lock button. You guys let me know what you're doing with Westy here. We made him the cover boy for a reason. Getting caught up on chat. Zach says, I saw earlier that Edwards is 17% from mid-range this season. Yeah, it's just chuck threes or dunk it, right? Jenna says, just a general question, please. In large slates, should you not have more than 2 players from one team? No, not necessarily. I think it's a little dangerous to have a rule of thumb to say, oh, I can't have this many from this team, because you have to put context on the pricing there. Team stacks and game stacks can be viable, especially this early in the season where pricing's a little bit more inefficient than it should be, and pricing needs to catch up. Or if you catch that game that goes into overtime, I guess on a bigger slate, when you think about it, yeah, there's probably a little less correlation between true ceiling outcomes between a couple of players on the same team. But if the price is right, it's okay. Usually, though, I will not want any more than 3 from the same team, but most of the time I'll cap it at 2. But it's not a hard rule of thumb. It is. You do have to put context with the price and the matchup in the spot, right? If a game total is so high, like today, if we get the Lakers without AD and LeBron, the rest of the team after Westbrook is 5K or less, 4K or less. So there's going to be a range of outcomes for Malik Monk to pay off 3,700 at a high rate of success, right? And then maybe one of the bigs like a DeAndre Jordan, Dwight Howard have to play extra minutes, 25 minutes. They've been point per minute. I'm leaning a little bit more on the Dwight Howard side. But it's still there, so I can justify the 3 live crews of this. All right, so Chronic, you there? You're let me get you in on the 2 Cam Sam, and then let me get the right label for the big dog. You got your pumps in?
Man, had a good workout in, so to make some money.
Right, you got the guns out. Got the guns out.
Welcome to the gun show.
Hey, wait a
That's
minute. Wait a
I'm about to
minute.
say that's a. I don't think the viewers know about that one.
That's my thing. I'm the gun show. Catching up on more questions here. Big Timer says I'm going back to Rondo at 3,100 on DraftKings. If he gets 20 minutes, he can smash that price. I definitely don't hate that call. What about Avery Bradley? Avery Bradley is kind of like a KCP type for me in 2021, where I'm just not that excited to get to him. Yeah, there were definitely moments in his Boston career where I was loading him up, but I haven't really seen a high fantasy ceiling from him so far to feel like he needs to be a priority for me. Quinn says if AD and LeBron are both out, Malik Monk is going to shoot the ball 20 times tonight. What he does with those shots is another story. I'm with that. Sorry, Tad, if you're getting a bunch of Slack noties, I had to deal with something. Jack says Monk and Achua, the best values. I like that. ABG, lock button Russell Westbrook and MME and fade and single entry for leverage. I like that. Westbrook on Fanduel under these circumstances is mispriced for his role. Absolutely. Chronic, you a DK player tonight or Fanduel? DK
Always
probably.
DK, man. Yeah, I don't play FanDuel at all.
So even at 9,300 on DraftKings, right, with the possibility of AD being out, but just knowing LeBron is out, in 20 lineups, what are you doing with Russell Westbrook at 9.3K?
Yeah, he's not 0.3K. Even if you go the whole AD's out, LeBron is out, right? If LeBron was out and AD was in, I was still playing him. You got the I'm coming home narrative. I'm sure you did that bit already, right?
I didn't, but
Um,
I'm coming home.
but definitely, man, revenge game. Russell Westbrook without LeBron is super. Like I said, I won't call him efficient because he's definitely not efficient, but his usage rate is through the roof. You've seen it last night. So if you take AD off the floor as well, how do you not lock button him? Even in the point where who was it? ABG said to fade him in single entries. I think that's risky, man. I think sometimes when you have a smash play like that, I mean, who else are you gonna find that type of point in ceiling total
Well,
on?
I think his point is that he's going to have the
Mhm.
exposure in mass. So if he hit, then he probably has his bases covered. But just in case he didn't, there's way more obtainable leverage by fading him in single entry than mass entry, because there's going to be guys in mass entry that think they're geniuses for doing it. So I get what his point is there.
Yeah, I understand that, but if you just look around him at one of his projection two, what you think his ceiling may be, and who else is around him? You got Trey Young, you got John Morant, James Harden, $700 more. I like Westbrook over all those guys, so to me, he's a free square. You just play him.
Chronic, can you do me one big favor? I am
Yes, sir.
struggling. I'm trying to set it up over here, trying to be producer and host and all that at the same time. You look like DFS Nick Merckx right now. Is there any way you could help me out and lower your camera just a little bit? Because you look like the neighbor from Tool Time. What was that show?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
It's
but
like nosing up.
yeah. And then Nick Merckx over here giving
Yeah, my
DFS
bad. My
advice.
bad. My bad.
Anyway, yeah, I was trying to fix it live, but I couldn't do it. Anyway, the runbacks here: SGA 7,100. Josh Giddey, we talked about him being a little bit more viable on DraftKings. Anyone else on the Thunder team tickling your fancy? I've had to just start beating Lou Dort truthers with a stick lately. Yesterday, I thought I was going to get got because he had like 12 in the first quarter, but he ended up being, expendable. I do think his price is getting low enough against a Lakers team that might struggle defensively and some more peripherals to be had, where you could live with the 25s. My projections actually shot back just under 30. But like the Spurs game, could this be a surprise game stack?
I don't like playing mini Thunders. I think SGA is extremely cheap for what he can do. And you just see what DeJounte Murray did to Russell Westbrook. I'm not saying they're the same player, but it's not far off, right? SGA is so volatile, though. His minutes are going to be safe, but his production is kind of hit or miss. I wouldn't game stack this, though. I would go Russ. I would go Malik Monk because he's under 4K on DK. Did you talk about Carmelo, man? Because this man screwed me last night. So I'm off that. Maybe I need to have goldfish memory, but I don't know if I can do it.
It's a revenge game for him too, bro.
It is. It is.
Hoodie Mello walking in here. Yeah, he only took 7 shot attempts yesterday, which feels a little bit low. I mean, so if AD and LeBron are out, right?
Then you would
Like,
imagine, right? He has to, and he would
40.
start too. And like you would think, unless they're not going to do Twin Towers with Jordan and Howard, right?
Yeah, very
Yeah.
unlikely that happens. Yeah, I would have some, but I would definitely not get carried away with it. Dwight Howard though, if AD was out between the Jordan and Howard 1v1, I feel like I'm leaning Howard a little bit more, but they're both dirt cheap on DraftKings. Do you have a specific lean?
If you had one of those NBA wowies, I would do whoever runs with Russell Westbrook because he was feeding DeAndre Jordan yesterday. And if you're telling me like minutes wise, that's who's going to run with him, it's going to be Lob City. So I probably would favor probably Jordan, even though he's a terrible like actual basketball player.
Let's move on to the next game here. Sacramento Kings at the Phoenix Suns. Project starting 5 for the Kings. De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, Harrison Barnes, Mo. How could you be so heartless? Rashawn Holmes taking on Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, and DeAndre Ayton. 225 is our total. 8-point spread in favor of the home team, Phoenix Suns. Not a whole lot screaming at me. I'm not used to sub 6K Rashawn Holmes, but in this matchup, I tend to stay away from teams against the Suns if I can help it. I do think there is implied value on a couple of players individually, right? It wouldn't be stunned if a De'Aaron Fox outperformed his price point, but he's only a couple $100 away from Russell Westbrook on Fanduel, and within 500 on DK, so that's a hard 1v1 to get to, but the minutes should be there for him. Harrison Barnes is the second coming of Michael Jordan. He's a guy that, in short sample so far, has shown a propensity to give you a little bit of upside at this 7K price point. Same, another guy that kind of reminds me of adjusting to perhaps a new reality is like the Miles Bridges, who's at a similar price point. 13, 20, 19 shot attempts from him the last couple of games. But you just don't get warm and fuzzies on him potentially matching up with Mikal Bridges here and there. And then on the Suns side, I think DeAndre Ayton comes in with the softest price point for a points per dollar return on investment. Sub 7K on FanDuel. 6,600 on DraftKings. I do love me some bigs against the Kings front court. And I do think 30 plus fantasy points is a common range of outcomes if you run this game several times. If you give me 33 minutes of DeAndre Ayton, I don't know how he lets me down. Is he the only guy that's interesting to you from this game, or do you have a lean on someone else?
I think you could have some. What's the word you always use? A chip in the chair. That phrase on Chris Paul, CP3 or Devin Booker. Everybody else is really appropriately priced, other than like you said, DeAndre Ayton. But are you worried about his usage at all? I understand it's a prime matchup, but 3 games this year, he has not had more than 10 shots. Can he get you 40 only shooting the ball 10 to 12 times?
Who, DeAndre Ayton?
Yeah. He's hasn't been that involved in the offense.
I think there might be some minutes that maybe didn't quite go his way. Overall, his usage rate is at 15%. So yeah, we want it a little bit higher. Rebound rate's high. I don't know. I just feel like I don't want to overreact to a short sample size on usage rates, and then I also don't want to not weigh the matchup appropriately. I like the matchup quite a bit against the Kings front court. So yeah, you can sell me on. You can sell me on this being the okay game. I don't need massive usage rates at this price point if the matchup's appropriate. I double seems implied, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything else is butter. I don't know how.
I would say definitely 10 plus boards, and obviously if they give him the ball to shoot the ball, he'll definitely score as well. There's no reason why he shouldn't get 10 plus boards tonight, unless he gets in foul trouble. But who's really come after him other than De'Aaron Fox? But I think DeAndre Ayton is one of those bigs that in the pick and roll, he can move his feet a little bit more. He's a little more agile than like a Clint Capella type. So yeah, I think he'd be fine.
All right, moving on to the next game. Portland Trailblazers hosting the Memphis Grizzlies. Project starting 5 for the Grizzlies. Ja Morant, DeAnthony Melton, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Stone Cold Steven Adams. It's going to get you 1 board. What? 2 boards. What? Taking on the Blazers, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Norman Powell, Robert Covington, Yusuf Nurkic. 234 is our total. 2.5 point spread in favor of the home team, Portland Trailblazers. I like it. I like it a lot. I like this game. Ja Morant is 9,500 on FanDuel. No. 9,600 on DraftKings. No. Give me the AKs.
Price. They adjusted his price.
Bruh, I'm not into CSGO, but give me the AKs. You know what I'm saying? Bars. What? D'Anthony Melton has moved up to the 5K area, as has Desmond Bain. Jaren Jackson Jr. still in the 6K area. And then Steven Adams, a little bit of a price discrepancy, almost 2K, 1,700 to be exact, from FanDuel to DK. So maybe on DK, Steven Adams. Here we go again with the macho man. Yeah, with the. I don't know why I've been doing this pinky thing.
Oh my god!
I don't know why. I can't control it, Chronic. It's just happening while I'm talking. Yeah. Steven Adams, 5,300 on DraftKings. He maybe has a little bit of meat left on the bone there, but you don't want to get too crazy with that at the with some of the upside that we have at center so far. But I feel like the correction on pricing for Memphis Grizzlies is just not fun. DraftKings didn't want us to have fun here. FanDuel didn't want us to have fun. On the Blazers side, Damian Lillard, 8,200 on FanDuel. Right there around the Russell Westbrook price point, which makes a great case for balanced builds tonight, with KD at 11K, with Giannis Antetokounmpo up there as well. And then CJ McCollum, your boy, Yusuf Nurkic, other guys that I would be considering but not married to. What are you doing with this game, Chronic?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I could play Aquaman at 5,300. I think that triple the upside, right? Steven Adams has been playing heavy minutes. He's been so involved in our offense. The pick and roll with Ja Morant has been killer with him, and that's how he's getting a lot of his points, especially and also on cleanups as well. I'm not too sure about the matchup because while on paper it doesn't look too hot, Nurkic's minutes has been fluctuating so far this year. Let me check it real quick, but I don't think he's played over 30 minutes. Let me check. No, he has not. He hasn't touched 30 minutes yet. The first game he had 29. So Steven Adams is out there 35 minutes a game. So I could definitely see playing him, especially at 5K. Is it limiting on his price point? I mean, on the opportunity cost of, like you said, some of the better center plays, J Bow. Yes. But it's fine if you ask me. Also, I don't think that Melton and Bain have been corrected enough, especially with their usage of minutes that they've been doing. I mean, that they've been getting since D Brooks is out, and then Slow Mo basically got benched. That's Kyle Anderson. For people who don't know, sign me up, man. Norman Powell doesn't play defense. Neither does CJ McCollum. So I like those guys' value.
I mean, McCollum is an okay defender. Dame is the
He's not terrible, but have you ever hid from CJ McCollum defense?
All right. So far this season, Ja Morant averaging 1.5 fantasy point per game. 1.5 fantasy point per minute on both DK and FanDuel. Steven Adams, 1.2 fantasy point per minute on both DK and FanDuel, where Melton and Bain and Jaren Jackson all about 1 fantasy point per minute. Usage rates, D'Anthony Melton, Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson, all over 20%. So a stackable team if you get to a few guys. Man, I love me some Ja Morant, man. I don't want to not have Ja Morant, but it's hard to justify it here. I do think 50 plus fantasy points is an absolute must at this price point. So I could sit this one out. Oh, but I love late hammer Ja Morant. What are you gonna do? What about if you were playing on? Let's say Damian Lillard was 8,200 on DraftKings. What would that do for you?
Wait, you said Damian Lillard was 8,200?
Theoretically, if Damian Lillard was 8,200 on DraftKings tonight, since you're just a DraftKings.
Yeah, you got to take a shot at him, right? Even though he's not. I seen the crazy stat yesterday. Russell Westbrook has shooting better from three. Russell Westbrook is shooting better from three than Damian Lillard is.
Let's go, baby! Out of context stats. Let's go, Westy. Let's go.
Of course, but this just shows that this is the slump that Dame has been in. If he catches fire, if he get not even catch fire, if he corrects back to what we know Dame can do, he's an easy 50 ball. So if you tell me 8K against these guys, sure, but he's not.
Yeah. But the reason I say that, Chronic, is because he's 82 on FanDuel. Not only is he 82 on FanDuel, but Russell Westbrook is 80. I lost it. I scrolled past it. Give me a second. Oh, God. 84. So like you could load up on Westy and Lillard and feel like you're getting 10K players on the low. So if he was 82 on DK, you would have a decent chunk, a lot.
In FanDuel, you play 2-point guards, right?
You can play 2-point guards and multi-position eligible.
Right.
You could play Westbrook in the shooting guard, right? Like it's not.
Okay. I get what you're saying. Westbrook will be locked in at 8,200. If you play in FanDuel and you don't have, if you play in a 20 max, you don't have 80% of Russell Westbrook. I don't know what you're doing.
Okay. But yeah, Lillard the same. So yeah, Lillard's not going to shoot this abysmal from behind the arc forever. Has only hit a 3-pointer in one game so far, ironically, against the Suns in what was a lopsided game. Expect that to progress to the mean, and he's going to start drilling some shots. And one thing he's going to probably keep doing is taking shots. And if this game stays competitive, which his last 2 games have not been competitive, I like him to pay off this 8,200 quite a bit. So I'm already kind of feeling a little bit of Lillard and Westbrook handcuffs, not handcuffs, but at the top of my lineups on FanDuel to get things rolling. We have just one more game on the slate. We'll take a pause for the cause. You guys know the drill.
Really quick before you do your plug, you had mentioned if Damian Lillard, if the game stays competitive, how does the game stay competitive with Damian Lillard going off? So game theory. If you think the game's going to be around this 2-point spread, mind you, Portland is favored to win this game. That Damian Lillard ideally is going to have a big part in that.
Yeah, but also like the Blazers did just blow out the Suns, and Dame didn't have a massive game, but he was well over a point per minute. So yeah,
they may lose Powell too, right? Isn't he a GTD?
Yeah, he's questionable. If he didn't start, I mean, Nazar Little maybe. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Pause for the cause. Let's get some plugs out the way. Chat. If you're not on PrizePicks, man, what are you doing, bro? You guys are doing the research now, man. You're identifying the best matchups. And if you're playing on FanDuel, you're identifying who you think are good FanDuel plays, who you think are bad FanDuel plays. Well, PrizePicks lets you bet against FanDuel scoring, essentially. They mirror the official NBA scoring. So if you guys have already got a feel for who you're liking on FanDuel, what you're expecting on FanDuel, you could further diversify your daily spend, maybe hedge some of that because of the volatility of these big field tournaments. Get into some PrizePicks action, start betting against the fantasy scores, betting over-unders on fantasy scores, but also on props. So if you ever wanted to take some action on prop betting, but you don't live in a state where prop betting or sports books are easily accessible, well, PrizePicks is the spot where you can get a little bit of everything in one area. It's parlays meets sports betting meets prop betting meets fantasy sports. It's very, very simple way to play. You don't have to face some of the smartest men on the planet with 150 lineups. It's just you versus the projection. So if you're not on it, check it out. It's a very, very user-friendly app that you can download on your phone or mobile device. And then of course the desktop client isn't bad either. If you sign up and you use code Gundecker, use that link in the chat right now, you'll actually be able to double your first deposit up to $100 and turn $20 into $40. Go out there, have some fun. It's not just for NBA. There's NFL, there's MMA, there's baseball. You want some World Series action, but you don't feel like playing World Series showdown slates. There's hockey, there's PGA, there's college football, there's soccer, there's Valorant and Chronic, there's CSGO. There's everything. They have disc golf, for crying out loud. I'm telling you, man, it's so fun. It's so fun. So check it out. Use my code. Get signed up. Use my code. They show me some love. I show you some love. It's a whole lot of loving going on around here. This is what it looks like. So you peruse through the menu, if you will. Ooh, Dusty Rhodes. I'm all over it today. You find a couple guys that you're liking for DFS or you're not liking, and maybe the projection's a little too hard. And you say, okay, LaMelo Ball's at 19.5 against Orlando. No Terry Rozier. If he doesn't stay in foul trouble, maybe I like him for the over here. If you guys are subscribers at rundfs.com, we kind of have a helpful hand in the player props tab that will show you my projections for each player, fantasy point wise. I will say my fantasy projections this year has been tweaked a little bit to lean more towards the high median, the ceiling outcome, because I do weight ceiling more importantly for tournament play. But the real point projections, the rebound projections, assists, PRA, all that good stuff is in the spreadsheet as well. So it's a great companion to your prize picks menu. And then, of course, if you guys are in the rundfs.com NBA VIP Discord, my boy Chronic, my boy Young C, Fish, they out here hunting them props, right? You guys are out here looking for...
That's the first hour of voice chat.
It's like, do you think, what was it, Daniel Tice over half a three-pointer?
Yeah.
You think he can do this? You think he can, yeah.
I'm about to go check if he
hit two. He
did?
hit one early, and then I turned the game on late. The first thing I saw was him pulling up from hell no range.
You did say that in chat. You did say Daniel Tice to the three. And I'm like, why are you telling me this? I'm sweating Jalen Green.
Oh, man. Good stuff, though. Anyway, lots of fun, man. That VIP is where you guys need to be. So go check out rundfs.com while you're at it. Get a week pass. Just a week pass, a $20 bill. Come have fun. Get in that Discord. Get the spreadsheet, not just for NBA, but NFL as well. And then let's wrap up this final game here. We got plenty of time. So chat, if you guys have some questions that you're sitting on after this game, we'll fire away. We'll go through some thought process on a couple guys that you guys might be thinking about. Only thing I ask from you is, what are we at? 120-ish viewers, 113, maybe 40 likes. Can we get that to 70? Man, just hit that thumbs up, man. It's free. It's free to hit that thumbs up and to subscribe if you're not already. The Cavs at the Clippers, main event tonight. Projects 35 for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, Larry Markkinen, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen taking on Reggie Kush, Eric Bledsoe, Paul George, Nick Batum, Ivica Zubac, Ibaka, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, and Preston, all listed as out. It's an 8-point spread in favor of the home team Clippers. A modest total here. Paul George has been one of my favorite plays to start the season, but he's getting priced to maybe an appropriate area, 10.5 on Fanduel, 10.3 on DK. I need that 50 plus, arguably need that 60 plus with how big this slate is, but man, is he a fun late night hammer to have, and man, do I like to attack the Cavaliers. I guess the question would be here, Chronic, is this game stay competitive long enough, strong enough for Paul George to really have to have a ceiling game, because what we saw in that Portland game was a blowout, and he only had to play 27 minutes, still well over a point per minute, but without the game being competitive, he didn't get to 35 minutes, 37 minutes, and that's kind of what you're going to need here to satisfy this price point. So how interested are you in Paul George as the hammer? You want the hammer?
Go get the hammer. What if I told you that the Cleveland Cavaliers just beat the Denver Nuggets? And I think this team is so hard to predict in terms of how they're going to perform on a daily basis. And to your point about the Portland blowout, do you expect Luke Kennard to drop 27 points? He was the decision. I mean, he was the X factor in that game, right? So the spread is at 8. So, I mean, at that point, it's really up to you. At 10-3, do you prefer Giannis? Do you prefer Cat? Do you prefer KD at 10-5? It's really up to what's your flavor of the day. Me personally, I think I'm going to have a little bit of Paul George, but he's not going to be a staple of my lineup. So I have a sprinkle.
Yeah, in that 1v1 area, obviously Giannis Antetokounmpo is king for me. The projection is going to love him. Yeah, we're in a new level for Paul George where he's not, I'm on a new level, 8.5, 9K. If he scores the same as one of those other guys, and it's not a big deal and everyone's happy. But I do think the potential for him to be a 1.5 fantasy point per minute kind of guy is there. So yeah, if this game stays close, I agree with you. The Cavs kind of stun the Denver Nuggets at Denver. Maybe they're a little bit better than the perception. And I
don't necessarily think the Clippers are good either. They lost to the Warriors, decent team, actually a really good team, actually, and they lost to the Grizzlies, right? So it's too early in the season to say who's good and who's bad. But outside of Paul George and Reggie Jackson, who are the main shot creators, I could see them getting abused on the boards today. Which, rebounds and second chance points. I could see Mobley and Jared Allen going in there before like 15 games. So that can keep it close.
Yeah. Speaking of Mobley, 6,400 on Fanduel, a lot of questions about him. Mobley has been a minute hog, and at under 7K on Fanduel, there's definitely a minutes equal money argument. He got just 26 minutes at Denver. I'm not going to overreact to that one.
He was getting cooked by Jokic.
Yeah. Hey, Zubac's a problem too, but 35, 32, 38 minutes first couple games. There's definitely a world where 30 plus minutes are awaiting Mobley here. And then Jared Allen's had a couple strong games as well. I got 30 plus fantasy point projections on both of them, so I wouldn't push back at all if you had some interest in the front court. With the guards being healthy, Garland, Sexton, Ricky Rubio, I don't really have any strong leans one way or the other on those guys. So my interest is probably going to be a lot on the Clippers side. You mentioned Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard had a massive game. I don't know that it was because Marcus Morris was out. He didn't really get any more or less minutes. I saw some people kind of correlate that, but 24 minutes of Luke Kennard, 10 shot attempts against the Portland Trailblazers, caught fire from behind the arc, 6 of 3. I think at 4K there might be a lot of chasing this, and I don't think it's a crazy thought that 4K Luke Kennard is a solid value play on DK or FanDuel. But I would say, I wouldn't forget that Eric Bledsoe is there, and maybe even Reggie Jackson to an extent. Bledsoe has been the guy I'm a little bit more privy to. He has been greater than a point per minute so far this season. So if you do think the Cavs are a little bit better than maybe the perception, but you still don't have the money to go get maybe a Paul George, Eric Bledsoe is right here, man, and he's filling up the stat sheet. Look at the peripherals, and probably going to get double-digit shot attempts if the game stays competitive. So Bledsoe's a guy I would not forget about when carving out my player pool. And then Zubac at under 5K. I wish the minutes were a little bit stronger. Isaiah Hartenstein is looking like a problem as well. Maybe in the Turbo Slate or something like that, I get to some of him. But I think Bledsoe is maybe points per dollar in floor versus ceiling, my favorite play. I think Kennard's got an okay ceiling for that price point, but the floor is a little bit flimsy. Can you co-sign this Bledsoe hot take?
Hot take is definitely what it is, and I don't think I can co-sign it, man. Bledsoe's washed. He's bad.
It's not
dude.
that. No, I'm telling you, he got I talking to Greg on the Awesome Show Saturday. He made a great point, man. Bledsoe just didn't need to be anything other than what he was for Milwaukee, right? On this team, a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more ball handling, and a little bit more peripherals go around. You don't have Giannis and Middleton on this team grabbing those lanky rebounds. So I think Bledsoe can really be revitalized as a fantasy attribute at this price range too. Under 6K on DK and barely above 6K on FanDuel. I'm an investor in that price point. I like it.
If you want to play Bledsoe, all you got to know is he gets the defensive stylings of Colin Sexton. That's all you really need to know. And that's reason enough to play it.
Chat. All right, chat. Let's collect some questions, comments, concerns, man. We got some time here. I'll try to get you guys out of here within 15-20 minutes. How do we want to do it? You want to go? You guys want to shoot around? Let's shoot around. And put you guys on the big screen. I got your camera all off, bro. Let's make the chat a little bit bigger. All right, so let's.
No love at all.
No, it's just. I mean, it was. We did it live. I can try to fix it. But,
nah, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it is to me, dang it. I'm a perfectionist. I don't think that's helping. It's just making it worse. DFS Nick Merckx. Anyway, looking at the live chat, Fish says he's already been looking today for some PrizePicks plays. Rod J says playoff P. Justin Jennings, put some respect on my Cavs name. Let's go. I think we were trying to, right? We were trying to say that the Cavs could be better than the world thinks. Izzo says one lineup on FanDuel. Who's your clicks and who would you consider as value on FanDuel? So I'm gonna go open up my projection sheet here. Obviously, I think Russell Westbrook, even at 8K, is an incredible value. So on FanDuel, sorting from best to worst value plays from projections that I threw out maybe an hour and a half ago, maybe 2 hours ago. I will need to tweak this as we get closer to lock. But Malik Monk is going to profile extremely well. He is just 3,500 on, or excuse me, 4,200 on FanDuel. Definitely would be somebody I'm pretty aggressive on. Sub 5K Precious Achua trends pretty well. Franz Wagner has been a good little value play. But look at this. Russell Westbrook at 8,400 is making the top 10 Chronic on my value chart. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's insane. So yeah, I'm starting with Westbrook, and yeah, I would probably lock him on FanDuel. Like, if he gets hurt or something like that, like, it is what it is. I just think the risk reward and trying to leverage the field, because I imagine the field might be 40-50% at this rate. I just want the extreme leverage, and it doesn't hurt that it's my favorite basketball player. So yeah, I guess you give me some Monk, some Westbrook, a little correlation there. Some Achua to an extent. I do think we can have a little bit of versatility between the power forward center spot. And then anyone else that I would have to get to. No priorities yet. But those would be three that I start with. Who do you think has the biggest upside mid-range power forward on FanDuel? Great question. So let's go back to the projection chart. By the way, this projection chart, you guys can get access to it on behind the paywall at rundfs.com. So real quick, we're going to go power forward center eligible on FanDuel, and I'm going to go projected FTP, and then in context of the ROI on the price point, who do we think at the mid-tier power forward center spot has upside? We mentioned Evan Mobley has been a large minute guy, so at 6,400, there's a world for him. Wendell Carter Jr. coming in at 5,700. I got him for over 30 fantasy points, so I definitely don't mind that. Chronic, I got clowned for saying and a lot in the comments yesterday.
Sick about it.
See.
What about BI? BI's
Brandon Ingram. Yeah, I definitely don't mind Brandon Ingram. I want to explain, chat, why I do that, because I know some of you guys that know it, and some of you guys that maybe even didn't notice I do it. Now you're gonna notice it. In a past life, I was a sergeant of corrections, and we dealt with radio traffic all the time. And I worked at some of the largest penitentiaries in the state in the maximum security, and with so many people with a radio, if I had to say something, if it was important communications, I didn't want any dead air, because as soon as there's a drop in radio traffic, somebody else would jump on. So as I would talk, like, I would keep it going so people knew I wasn't done talking, and I guess that's just kind of stuck with me. And dead air is bad air. So maybe I'll try and work on that. But yeah, my bad if it annoys you. I'm working on it. So you said Brandon Ingram. So Ingram, yeah, I think he's gonna be more small forward. I guess that would be a way to open this up, is small forward, power forward. Yeah, there we go.
Is 8,500 considered to be mid range? I don't know what FanDuel pricing is. That mid range for FanDuel?
Yeah, 5-6K. Yeah, absolutely. I do like Ingram. We talked about it earlier. You weren't here for that, but getting exposure to that game, like if you wanted to game stack that, like run Giannis at Cat, and then like grabbing run Giannis at Cat, and then maybe looking at your boy Anthony Edwards, like that would probably come at the cost of Russell Westbrook. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, what are your thoughts on having a lineup without Westbrook tonight? Big slate.
Yeah, I mean, you don't go 100%. I mean, it really depends on the type of player that you are, right? So if you're 20 maxing, I would get at least 80% of the Westbrook minimum. So that gives you 2 or 3 lineups without him. 150, obviously, you have to play a little differently, right? In single entry, you have a decision to make. It's either binary, right? You either have them or you don't. I think personally my studs are going to be Giannis and Westbrook today, and fill in with value and Midser from there. But I could definitely see if you want to run gang stocks that OU is one of the highest on the slates at 230. And the spread isn't projected to get out of hand. Bigs against Minnesota, I would continue to hammer it. You're welcome for J Val. Keep doing it.
Shut up.
It's been a thing for years, man. I don't know why people just don't play it. So, and it's not groundbreaking. I didn't come up with it. But yeah, so I can see that. I'm not personally doing it though, but I wouldn't fault somebody. If I seen it in my lineup, I mean, in my contest, I wouldn't be like, "Yo, you're dope."
Yeah, you would. No, Scotty Barnes, yeah. Scotty Barnes, Raptors bouncing back against the for Scotty Barnes bouncing back against the Pacers definitely makes a lot of sense. The Raptors are stacked. I think I will have to govern my exposure because my projections are going to like a lot of them. Points per dollar, Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, Van Vliet to an extent. I feel like Van Vliet will get kind of shuffled out with what I'm doing at my point guard, shooting guard position, between the value at Monk, between the solidity since with like a Westbrook and even a Damian Lillard. But yeah, I definitely don't mind that call in chat for Scotty. Chris Conlon, Lakers are a mess. Oof. Jack Phillips' thoughts on Franz Wagner. Man, he has been getting there, right? We had him as part of our prize picks bets the other night. He's under 5K. I do like teams against the Charlotte Hornets. Has been a guy. Yeah, minutes are there. Definitely a little bit more flimsy floor than you would like so far. But man, double-digit real points every game so far this season. You get some extra peripherals implied going against the Hornets. Put a little bit of strength of schedule context to his schedule so far. The Spurs, 2 games against the Knicks and the Miami Heat. Definitely a room for a couple more rebounds here. So I don't hate that. Definitely.
Increased pace. You think the Hornets love to run the ball, right? You got the Melo to Bridges connection. Only person that really doesn't run is Hayward, right? So like, yeah, I could definitely see young guns running up and down the court this tonight.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Chat 48 likes. Can we get to 70? Can we get to 70? I don't think we can, but I think we can. I don't know if we can, but I think we can. Also, personal goal of 6K subscribers by January 1. I'm off pace by like 20 if we go with my per week averages. So I'm going to need one big day to really get us back on pace here. So if you guys are lurking and you haven't subscribed, man, hit that subscribe button like our buddy RMC123 just did. I appreciate that. Booker bounce back 7,500 seems cheap to me on FanDuel. I think game to game, the Suns are a little bit more balanced than I would want them to be in terms of usage and output, but Booker gets dangerous once he's under the 8K range. So if you are trying to look for a way to zig when others are zagging, or zag when others are zigging in matchful tournaments, yes, 7,500, definitely a price point where he can get to 40 plus and satisfy what he needs at that price point, and then 50 plus if he gets a hot shooting night. It's the Sacramento Kings, since the beginning of last year, one of the worst defenses in all of basketball. So it's definitely an upside spot here. So I don't mind looking at Devin Booker, and you're probably going to get him at a discounted ownership with all of the other options, both higher and lower in the position. So I definitely think that's a guy that could help you win 100K at like 8% ownership, right? Giannis Middleton with D. Russ and Edwards bring back. So looking at the T-Wolves, I feel like if I'm ever going to go 2 out of 3, it's almost always going to be one of Edwards and D-Russ and Cat. I don't know how often I get to D-Russ and Anthony Edwards. What are you thinking, Chronic?
I think we talked about this on the last stream. I think they cannibalize each other. I'm always going to pick Anthony Edwards. I think he's a better player than D-Russ.
Let me see if the numbers so far agree or disagree with me there. Like, sure, there will be games where those two do well and maybe Cat doesn't, but man, I'm leaning way more towards the big and one of the guards. So far this season, D-Russ is under a fantasy point per minute, Edwards over a fantasy point per minute, while Cat's 1.6. So yeah, I think I'm leaning more towards that. D-Russ is one of those guys where you're not stunned if one of these slates he pops up and says, remember me, a 29% usage rate is definitely going to have that EKG night where he's spiking up while Edwards spikes low. The coexistence between those two in terms of a ceiling output, I do feel like I'm a little bit more trepidatious approaching, but I guess it's not crazy considering the matchup against the Bucks. The Bucks are a team that we definitely like 3-point shooters against. Guys that can score from mid to long range. So I guess Edwards will chuck with the best of them, and D-Russ can pull up as well. So I guess in the context of the matchup today, sure, maybe this is one of those spots where you could predict that leaning that way. But I'm generally going to go one of them and Cat, but we'll see.
I definitely agree with that. I was just really quick. I just want to say that Russell's shot has been off, and I think that's why he's been underperforming. He's been getting there. In terms of his shot volume is there. It's not like he's not involved in the offense. He's the second leading the third leading shot taker on the team. But I think he is the third wheel. He is the Russell Westbrook when the Lakers are healthy, so to speak, right? Anthony Edwards has shot no less than 21 shots so far this year, and he's averaging around 14. Food for thought. Just food for thought.
No, I think that's like a lot of what we know, we don't know after 3 or 4 games, right? There's going to be games where some of these guys spike back up, but there's going to be times where Harrison Barnes isn't dropping 50 fantasy points, and Halliburton or Fox or Buddy Hield picks it up. I definitely think we shouldn't be too attached with the short term output and kind of read between the lines. And like you said, if the shot volume's there, same with Damian Lillard. He's not going to hit two threes all season, right? There's opportunity to still be getting somewhere before the rest of the field gets there. So I don't hate that. The more I think about it, I don't hate it. I still think I'm going one guard, one center, but this is the matchup where I probably could justify the 2 guards here, especially guys that are going to pull up from 3, because we like attacking the Bucks with the 3 ball.
And game theory, if you think maybe Towns get into foul trouble trying to check, Giannis, maybe. Just, throwing that out there.
Yeah, I looked at Towns' last 10 games against the Milwaukee Bucks. He's got 155 bomb in his last game where he played 36 minutes, almost triple-doubled, hit 1 of 3 shots from behind the arc. So, 55 isn't crazy. And then on March 11th, 2017, so many years back, which is really not even worth discussing, he dropped 66. So his output against the Bucks has really been somewhat underwhelming for this price point. So, yeah, maybe you guys can swerve me on this one, and D-Russ and Edwards is the move here. Definitely. I definitely could see it now that I'm talking it out. I like this. This is why I like this. We can talk through this stuff. Why are my hands doing things? I don't know. Jack says, I have Van Vliet, Trent, and Achua in one lineup. You think that's too many Raptors? Trent feels a little bit more iffy. I probably want Anunoby. I do think there's a world where 3 Raptors get there tonight. My first lean was Anunoby, Barnes, and Achua, but I'm fine with Van Vliet. Makes sense. I didn't consider Trent. Am I sleeping on Gary Trent Jr.? Let me pull him up. Small forward, shooting guard eligible on DK. The shot volume's been there. Peripherals are iffy. Trent's my odd man out, I guess, but I definitely think 3 Raptors can thrive tonight. Daniel says the cat's going nuts, so my cat's being a nuisance. What do you think about Nick Batum at 3.6K on DraftKings? Nick Batum's just kind of a guy out there that more often than not will be just getting his cardio in. I know without Marcus Morris, we want to play him, and there's going to be games where he gives you that 20 plus at this price point. But in that last game, 22 minutes, 14 fantasy points, he was sitting on a turnover forever, just kind of there to space out for others. I don't have high expectations in terms of his ceiling. I do think at his price range, it's not going to be that hard. I'm assuming you already have Malik Monk, but Monk is probably my favorite value play here on DK 3,700. I'd be very, very close to hitting that lock button. And if you needed more at the forward value, I guess it's not the worst you can do, but he definitely doesn't inspire a lot of ceiling hopes for me, and that's what I need on a slate this big, right? I need more than 20 to satisfy the value roll on big slates, right? You need closer to that 8, 9, 10x value. So I'm not that enthralled by Nick Batum. Do you feel any differently?
It really just depends on what his ownership is going to be. I think you throw him in a pool if you think he's going to be moderately owned. I mean, like so on the lower end, you throw it in there. Hopefully, he has a decent game. But if he's supposed to be chalk, I would full fade it because 9 times out of 10, he's getting you like 16, and like sure, I guess that's fine. But like you said, there's other upsides. Malik Monk being down there. I mean, Nas Little, he's 3,900 on DK, and he's not that involved, but he can get you there. There's better plays.
Yeah. Whoa, is that Mo in the chat? What up, Mo? DFS Jerusalem. If you guys are true OGs, you recognize that name. What's up, Mo? What you doing out there? I see you doing big things. You got the greatest camera I've ever seen. Is Dragic unplayable at 3,700? Man. He wasn't on my short list. What's the minute count looking like for him? 14. I feel like at that range, call me crazy, but I might gamble on Rajon Rondo a little bit more. But I don't think he's unplayable. If it's like a big fill 100K to first, not anything short entry, single entry, something like that. Jack Phillips to start. Thoughts on Plumlee at 5,900 on FanDuel. Love me some Mason Plumlee per minute for the last couple of years. He's definitely been very, very efficient. He was well on his way to breaking the slate against Boston. Huge first half. I thought he was going to finish with 50 plus. Kind of dwindled down there in the second half, but still enough of everything. This guy, I think he had a triple double or two with the Pistons last year, right? So maybe not quite what we'd expect. I'm not projecting a triple double, but that the type of efficiency for fantasy is there nonetheless. Does a little bit of everything. And against Orlando, at this price, at that price with 32, 34 minutes, I definitely think per minute he can get you mid 30s to maybe even knock on the door of 40 fantasy points, and I'd be just fine with that for sure. Sweatshop in the chat. Shout out to the Sweatshop. I still see Sweatshop logos in contests every day. I still see it. Love them. The homie. We are 6 likes away from the 70 like goal. There's got to be 6 of you guys out there right now. You ever go to church, Chronic, and at the end the pastor's like, right now,
5 people to sow a gift of $30. Yeah, I hate that.
Or there's like, right now, the Spirit's speaking to me. There's 3 people here struggling with forgiveness. I need you to come forward. There's 6 people here struggling with hitting that likes up. And that thumbs up.
Is it me?
Is it me? Oh man. Oh dude, they be speaking to you sometimes, dog. Like struggling with addiction. Everybody's looking around, looking to see if hands are up. I knew it, Patty. Oh man. Anything else, chat? Did I miss anything? Anthony Perry, what's up, Anthony? Great first name. Thoughts on Justice Winslow at 3,400 on DK for tournaments? If you play Justice, he'll keep them wins low. A guy that didn't really fall on my radar again. If you're just spinning the wheel, making a deal on those like no-name Clippers with the Batum, with Marcus Morris out, I guess there's a path to success. Give me just a second to verify whether or not he was part of the end of that game with the cleanup crew. If so, he might have been spotted a few extra minutes that maybe don't. Yeah, Justice Winslow closed that game. So to kind of put that in perspective, let me pull it back to the 2cam screenshot here. See, this is the rotation for that last game. Winslow really wasn't that involved in the rotation, and then when the game was completely over, right, the mop-up kids, there was a blowout. Winslow played the entire fourth quarter. Kennard, Hartenstein, like Terrence Mann, Jay Scrub, Brandon Boston Jr. got run there. So you might argue that those minutes that you're seeing for Winslow in the last game might be I want to say probably more than you would expect in a closer game. Maybe not, but that's kind of what I've got on that. Offensive username coming in late. Any Portis or George Hill love? Also, I don't know why, but I'm feeling Gary Trent. Not expecting a huge game, but gotta trust my Canadian intuition. We kind of just talked about Trent. If you guys are on it, don't let old Gunn be the guy that puts you off of it. Portis is intriguing, right? We haven't seen Portis play yet this season, but we know he can be a point per minute guy. You wonder if If he got to 20 plus minutes, could he be a guy that gets you close to 30 fantasy points? I think that is. So as long as there's not verbiage from Budenholzer that would push us on or off of him in terms of potential minute restriction, without Brook Lopez, the opportunity should be there, and you might even see him start with him being probable. So I actually think that's a cool take. I would say if I could put 20 minutes to 25 minutes as a projection for Portis, yeah, I'd absolutely be interested in some Bobby Portis here. Yeah, you got something? No? Okay. Lorenzo says, Mo in the sweatshop was the reason I followed you years ago, bro. He was right. He was sharp. Yo, Mo is my homie, dog. I'm telling you, back then when everyone with a YouTube channel and DFS was beefing and trying to be like, I'm smarter than them, blah, blah, blah. They don't know, blah, blah, blah. We win more. That me and Mo were never like that, man. We laid back, Cadillac Jack, nothing but love, bro. You got passion for it. There's nothing but love. So, and now we're starting to see more of that. So we were trendsetters, you know what I'm saying? Jack Phillips says, which two do you like better, SGA and Scotty Barnes, or Van Vliet and Gary Trent? Probably SGA and Scotty Barnes. What up, Tyrell? Turner or Schroeder for a utility spot? 5,700 remaining on DraftKings. Oof. Chronic, we know you love Miles Turner. Dennis Schroeder did have a massive game there for the Celtics.
Monster game, yeah, that was crazy.
It seems like Schroeder would be the guy that's baked into 30 plus minutes, and he's probably going to be more likely to play 30 minutes, be a point per minute. Maybe the ceiling's on Turner a little bit more, but I guess Schroeder in that 1v1. I would also say while you're kind of there in that area, maybe consider a guy like Kelly Oubre, Chris Duarte, something like that. Usually in my util, I like to give it to a big, a forward, a center, something like that. Raise my floor on guys that get rebounds and blocks and double bonuses, stuff like that. But from a per minute standpoint, the projection is just fine on Dennis Schroeder. But yeah, I guess in that 1v1, it would be Schroeder. You agree?
I would say Schroeder definitely is the safer play. I think Turner's boomer bust. I don't see a situation in this game where he may be in foul trouble, but that last game, he got in foul trouble early, but the coach just never brought him back. So I don't know if that's like the new coach not trusting him. I'm not sure what that is, but he got 3 fouls early on, I think in the first half, and he just didn't play anymore. So what's that about? I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. All right, chat. I got to get ready for the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. Chronic, I'll link up with you in like 5 minutes, bro. We'll see you there. We'll come up with some prize pick plays, all that good stuff. Appreciate you joining me for the second hour. Chat, we got to get out of here. If you guys want to continue your free content, go to the Osmo channel. They're going to have that deeper dive cranked up, I believe, if it's not already on. And a lot of good information there. And they'll also probably be able to sprinkle in some ownership information. If you guys are looking to hang out with me for the next 2 hours, I'll be in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord in the voice chat, chopping it up, making my player poll. You guys can see the player poll at RunDFS.com. We'd love for you guys to join us. We've been making new members. Or getting new members, not making. We don't actually have a factory where we create new members, but if you guys want to be part of that, go to RunDFS.com, get yourself signed up, and then, of course, hit that like button on your way out, and double check to see that subscribe button. We'll be here every day, every weekday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. So we're back at it tomorrow. I think tomorrow just might be a small slate, but it don't matter, man. 3 p.m. Eastern, that's the time slot we rolling with. So I appreciate you guys, as always, making part of my day be part of your day. Taking a quick peek at tomorrow. See more butts. Tomorrow's a 6-game slate. I like 6-game slate, so we'll have some fun tomorrow. I don't know who my co-host will be, but we'll see. Wendell Carter and McCall Bridges for me, probably Wendell Carter, and then somebody had asked. I think that was it. I felt like I missed something else. Anyway, who do you like better, SGA and Scotty, Van Vliet, Gary? Probably SGA and Scotty. All right, I think I got that one as well. I love you guys. I hope you guys absolutely crush it tonight. Win all the money. Save some for me. Good luck. God bless, and go win some money.